Like, yo, sis, am I the only one that's going through this? Like, it was so embarrassing. Escort me. Escort me where?
What's up, cousin? What's up?
Hey cousins, it's your girl Bishop, aka Reese. You can call me either or, I honestly don't mind. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I have a story time. Well, I'm gonna attempt, fingers crossed, I'm gonna attempt to do a story time if I can get all my facts together and all the memories unjumbled. And it's gonna be basically my survival of stage 4 endometriosis. Before you start asking questions, we're gonna get into that. But first, if you're new here, welcome to the family. Go ahead and press that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it. And if you're already a cousin, welcome back, family. It's good to see you. How you been doing? I've just clocked, like, my face is mad shiny over here. I don't understand. I put on blush today. I thought I was doing something, but obviously it is what it is. And this top is really having my double chin right now. Like, the quarantine pounds are just sitting here for me. Like, anyway, back to the topic at hand. So first things first, I'm going to explain briefly or give the NHS description of what endometriosis actually is, because when I try and explain it to people, it's kind of difficult to grasp. Like, that really happens. And then once I get further into it, you're gonna clock, like, oh my god, like, well, you might not clock. Like, obviously not everyone is stage 4. I'll go through those stages too, but it's quite a common thing for nobody to know about it, if that makes sense. So yeah, Blind Bay is back because we can't sit on. Alright, boom. So endometriosis is a condition where tissue similar to the lining of the womb starts to grow in other places, such as the ovaries and the fallopian tubes. I can never say that word, don't judge me. Endometriosis can affect women of any age. It is a long-term condition that can have a significant impact on your life, but there may be some treatments that can help. Now, as I'm going through the stages, I'll have the pictures pop up on the screen somewhere. So stage 1 is minimal, stage 2 is mild, stage 3 is moderate, and stage 4 is severe. Your girl here happens to be stage 4. Now when people hear stage 4, they think, oh my god, it's kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, for me personally, when I was told you're a stage 4 blah, blah, whatever, like my diagnosis basically, in my head I'm thinking, I relate stage 4 to cancer essentially, like, or being terminally ill. So I started freaking out. I'm thinking, are you gonna tell me I'm gonna die? And then they were like, no, and then they explained everything. So we'll get into that later. But first things first. So I know the snippet that I read on the NHS website says it's only found in women. Now I know some people watching this may feel offended because they may identify as something other than a woman. So I'm just gonna say, if you have the XX chromosome, then you are able to, sorry, my nose is really itching me today. Hay fever is really hay fevering. Then you'll be able to develop endometriosis over time. Now, like I said, it doesn't happen to every woman. It happens to 1 in 10 women, and I just happen to be that 1 in 10. So yeah, enough of let's start with my story. So for me, I started my periods around 12, and from the jump, like from when I started my periods, endometriosis was beating me up and I didn't even know it. So excuse me, my periods will be quite irregular. They'll be really painful. Now, as a 12-year-old, you will be like, you've never experienced this kind of pain before in your life when you first start your periods, and other people who start their periods will understand what I'm saying, or that remember, should I say. And it's one of them things where it's like, what the fuck is that? Like, I know I watch too much TikTok, but that's the only way I can explain it. Like, it's not a pain that you can categorize. That's what I'm saying. So that happened. I was 12. My periods were irregular. I think there was a month where I was on my period the first week, and then my period had stopped for 5 days, and then it came back for 2 weeks straight. And my mum was like, "You was just on your period, like whatever." Because I used to just, the pain was just ridiculous. I used to just be all the time, you know, a 12-year-old as you do. And I think once I was 13 and I had my period again, obviously as you do, when I was at school, that pain, I haven't had a child, but I can only imagine that it felt like early labor. Like the way the pain just entered, it entered my whole being. And then I had to excuse myself from class and, you know, just say ladies' problems, whatever. So when I excused myself from class to go to the toilet, when I got up, I just felt heady. You know, like when you feel like you're gonna collapse, and it's just that kind of ooh feeling. You know, on TikTok when they have that filter that does this, that's literally how I was feeling. So then I was on my way to the toilet. I was gonna go down the stairs at school, and then I just had to hold on the rails because it really felt like I was gonna fall down. And then next minute, you know, like I saw one of my teachers, and he was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "No, I feel like I'm gonna faint." And then my legs just exited the group chat. So then he picked me up and taken me to welfare, and obviously my mum got called and stuff, and she's panicking like, why is my child collapsing in school? Like, I'm relatively healthy, and I say relatively now because the grown women weight has come and all of that. So like I'm relatively healthy in the grand scheme of things. You know, I don't live an unhealthy lifestyle, or especially not then anyway. So I was taken to the doctors. They were like, there's nothing wrong with her. My mum was like, she's on her period and she's collapsing. So I had to do blood tests, and they found that at the time I wasn't anemic, but because I had been back to back on my period consecutively, like once it was like 1 week and then 4 days off and then 2 weeks, it just led to an anemic result, if that makes sense. Like I don't have the, mind you, I haven't been tested, so I wouldn't.
Nobody's gonna know.
I don't know if I'm sickle cell trait, and I don't believe, because I think I would know that I have sickle cell, or I don't believe I'm anemic either. But you know, you're not gonna know until you check, and me and needles don't get along, so I'm not gonna check. Yeah, mum took me to the doctors and stuff, and keep constantly, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you, da da da, me. And I was just like, something has to be wrong, because all of the girls in school by now, not all of the girls, but a lot, especially my friends, my friendship group in school, I think all of us by this time had our periods. And I'm asking questions, like I seem so crazy, like I'm asking questions like, does this hurt, does this happen, does this happen, da da da, like yo sis, am I the only one that's going through this? Like, it was so embarrassing because my mum doesn't know anything. Well, she does know, but she doesn't understand. And yeah, so that was that. So basically throughout secondary school, it was a constant battle between me and my mum and the doctors, because I can tell you, like, I went to the doctors on average every month. Every time my period was supposed to come around, like, you know, every 28 days, whatever, I was on my period. I was in the doctors. And it got to a point where, oh, my back. It got to a point where mum stopped booking appointments for me because she kept getting the same answer, which is understandable. The doctors, the medical professionals that have trained for this are telling my mother, there's nothing wrong with your child. It's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with your child. She's fine. It's just growing pains. It's just this, periods irregular. I know you fucking lying. What are you talking about? No, it's not all right. It's not okay. I'm dying here. Like, it literally felt like my heart was trying to escape my body through my backside. That's the only way I could describe it at the time. All right, cool. So bearing in mind, paracetamol didn't work, ibuprofen didn't work, cocodamol didn't work. I lied. It took the edge off of it, but cocodamol is a slippery slope. You can't be taking that every day, popping pills, because you become addicted. Like Hennessy. Like, you know, it's an addictive substance. So all I could do was hot water bottles, teas, like peppermint tea, because let me not even get started on the wind. The wind that you get. Nobody told me about this. So when this is going on now, I'm getting trapped wind. I'm gonna tell you that shit hurts. It was hurting. I'm not gonna lie, once it released, if I'll give you. Everyone has, listen, we're all grown, we're all adults, we're all family here, okay? Okay, cousins, ain't nobody gonna tell me nobody here farts. Because I know you fucking lying. But yeah, so it was just a constant battle. By now I've left secondary school. I've had to give up sports, or not do sports as vigorously as I did. And I'm at college, and then going to college, it was kind of like the same thing, like constantly in and out of hospitals. But by now I was over the age of 16, so you know, it's one of the ones where you still kind of want your parents to book the doctor's appointment for you. But my mum was like, yo, you're on your own. Like, not look like that, but it was kind of like, if you need to go to the doctors, just book yourself a doctor's appointment and go, kind of thing. So I was like, okay. So I'm booking, and I'm still getting the same response that I was getting how many years before with my mum going. Now I have the way my doctor's surgery works is I sound like flipping birds from Finding Nemo. I have a specific doctor at my doctor's surgery, but all of these appointments I'm going to, unless I specifically booked ahead of time with him, I'm not necessarily going to see him. Whereas we would come at 7 a.m. in the morning and then be seen by 8 o'clock, and then obviously from there I would probably go get McDonald's breakfast or something, or go home, eat breakfast, and then go straight to school. So yeah, so it was like really disheartening, I'll be honest. It was very, very disheartening, and it got to a point where I started second guessing myself, and it was like, I know something's wrong, but all of these medical professionals are telling me nothing is wrong. So it's this thirsty work. And yes, I drink Supermart, for all you non-Supermart lovers out there. And then like depression and stuff started to kick in, and I'm looking wild, like, say I don't even know what that is, but I know it very well. You know, like the depression kitty and big mouth, that's literally how it creeps up on you. And that anxiety mosquito, that's literally what I was feeling, because I'm an overthinker. I'm gonna put my hands up and say I'm an overthinker, and I'm one of those people that Googles their symptoms and then finds out they should have been dead 4 weeks prior to Googling their symptoms based on what I found back then. Obviously I don't do it now because it messes with your head, in it, but back then that's what I was like. So constantly Googling my symptoms, I was like, oh my god, it could be this, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. And then there was like this kind of thing that went around where it was like, oh, excuse me, where it's like, oh, cancer runs in your family if so and so and so and so had it before. Now, God rest my soul, not my soul. Oh, I'm not wishing out myself, goddamn. I don't want to see my Mika yet. I'm sorry, Lord, I'm sorry. God rest her soul. But my nanny died of cancer. Now, do you know what I mean? So the type of cancer that she had, or it developed into, I was kind of feeling pain in them kind of areas. So I was like, let me just go and make sure what is going on is actually going on. Not going, you know what I'm trying to say, that let me just go and make sure I'm basically not dying. So I took my fast self and paid for a smear test, because I was under the age of 23 or 4. I don't know back then how, you know, it's changed a couple times. So under the age of whatever. I was 19 at the time when this happened, so let's just put that into perspective. I was 19 when I paid for my own smear test. Now the results came back as some abnormal cervix cells, and then obviously I took them to my doctors and they had them further tested, and it says, well, they're not cancerous. So I said, okay, it's not cervical cancer. I was like, if it's got nothing to do with that, why am I now having to do my own investigation into what's wrong with my body? I'm still going through the pain. By now, like when I have a very bad flare up back then, now it's a bit hit and miss. But back then, like when I would have a flare up, it would literally be, no exaggeration, like I like my sleep, but I would legit sleep for about 36 to 40 hours straight. But I will go to bed, or I'll be in my bed or curled up with the water bottles and the heat pads and stuff and whatever. I will fall asleep at like 4 p.m. Expect, oh yeah, I've only been asleep for a couple hours. Why am I waking up at like 2 in the morning, not the next day, the day after? Like, so I've slept from 4 p.m. until 4 p.m. the next day, and I've carried on sleeping from 4 p.m. that day until 2 a.m. the next morning. Like, and at the time I was living by myself, so it's not like I had family to like come in my room. Because when it used to happen to me in secondary school and like when I first started college, my mum would be like, or my brother or somebody in my house will be like, Ree, you alright? Or they'll come and knock on the door. If it was up to my brother, he would just walk in, but mum said there's food, you hungry, kind of thing. So it would always be somebody to check up on me or wake me up, essentially. But because living by myself, ain't nobody wake me up. I couldn't even, the Royal Mail or delivery couldn't even wake me up. Like, I was gone. So that went on for a while. And then the doctors were like, oh yeah, it's your depression, here's some tablets. And I was like, all I told you was I sleep. I know that sleeping is a big part of having depression. It presents itself in different ways in different people. But I didn't get the opportunity at the doctors to explain that I'm sleeping, like I'm initially falling asleep because of this pain. And when I was trying to explain it to people, and then when they're saying stuff like, oh, on the scale of 1 to 10, how does it hurt? And I'm like, bruv, it's a 10. And they're like, yeah, but it doesn't look like it hurts. What the hell does pain look like? Oh God, my double chin. Like, honestly, what does pain look like? If I've dealt with this since I was 12 years old, since I started my periods, what does this pain look like? I've constantly been told, nothing's wrong with you, you're over exaggerating, or you need to learn to cope with your periods, or it's just a hormone change, or it might be something you ate, are you allergic to anything? I've told you this, and the thing is, when you look at my records, you know when you go to the doctors and they put their key card thing in the what's this thing called, in the keypad, in the keyboard, and then they bring up your files. My complaints are the same every time I go to the doctors. But the advice they give and the medicine they prescribe and the reasoning for why this is happening are always different. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand, bitch. I don't understand. I'm not understanding. Pardon me. And it's just like, well, I'm telling you the same thing. That's like somebody constantly telling you 2 + 2 = 4. Do the maths. And then you find out your maths is not mathsing, and you'll gain every other number but 2 every time you do the maths problem. But you don't get the same number you had before. Does that make any sense? Like, legit, does it make it? Let me not even stress myself out. So the bulk of the problems happened when I was 19. Now, I have to laugh. I have to laugh. I have to laugh. When I was on my period, I wouldn't like overexert myself because I thought that's what it was. Like, okay, you're losing blood. You know, your body needs to work to replace it. Whatever, whatever. I went back to the doctors, and this, I said to myself when I booked this doctor's appointment, I was like, I'm gonna give myself three more doctor's appointments. And if these 3 doctor's appointments do not work, I'm gonna lose my shit. That's literally what the pep talk I gave myself on the way to my next doctor's appointment. And by this time, my doctor's surgery was doing this thing where they were having locum doctors. They call them locum doctors, where it's like, it's not the surgery based doctors. There's like supply, it's like supply teachers but doctors, if that makes sense. I can't explain what I'm trying to say. Like, you would sometimes see the same person, or you would see them around, but you would very rarely get an appointment with the same locum doctor at 2 different times. You see, God took pity on me that day. It was even this time period. God really took pity on me. He said, my baby struggled enough. Just give her some answers. He's like, she's been through it all. Give her some answers. Because by now, it might be TMI. I'm sorry, not sorry. So by now, my body started to do this thing called gushing, and my periods were even worse. Like, there was one time I was on my period for a month and a half, consistently. Like, you know, it's one of them ones where it's like, okay, you can stop now. Consistently for a month and a half, I was just on my period, and it wasn't even a light flow. It was heavy. So it caused me trouble at work. Like, there's been times where I've bled through my clothes. Even now, I've bled through my clothes. I have run out of sanitary towels and had to go home early. Sometimes I've had to bring a change of clothes. Like, if I know I'm having a flare up, I've always got a spare pants in my bag, a whole packet of sanitary towels in my pocket. Like, it's a lot. Oh, excuse me. So I literally, it was getting really bad. So when I went to the doctors and I spoke to her, I'll never forget this lady's name, Dr. Jan Mohammed. Her last name is Jan Mohammed. She had my file open when I came in and sat down. Now she was like, okay, like, how can I help? Da, 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 whatever. Told her the story. And you're like, she'd already made up her mind before I even finished. Because she was like, oh yeah, but it says she's been here for that already. I'm coming to you because I have this issue. Regardless of whether I came with it before, I still have this issue. So there's something that you doctors, professionals aren't doing. Yeah, there's something that you guys aren't doing and I'm still suffering. Something isn't making any sense. So she was like, oh, okay, you know, well, there's not much I can do at the moment, blah, 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 blah. So by this time I'd been in there 15 minutes and my doctors had this thing back then where it's like, oh, if your appointment's more than 10 minutes, you need to let us know so then we can book an appointment accordingly. So she was kind of rushing me out and I was like, all right, bet, I got you. I see you. We see each other.
Okay, we good. I see. We see each other. We see each other. We good.
Went to the reception, booked another appointment. So that was the first appointment I gave myself. This is the second appointment. Remember I said to you, you very rarely get the same doctor, the same locum doctor. I told you, God had his eye on me that time period, because I had the same lady. I had the same Dr. Jan Mohammed, and it must have been about, I'll say 5 weeks in between. By the time I'd gone in the room, she was looking down and I came and sat down and I was like, oh yeah, this is the problem. And then she looked up and then she was like, I just saw you the other day, like, why are you coming back, kind of thing. And I was just like, because I have the same problem. duh, you didn't do shit last time. I still have problems. And I'm getting agitated because this time, like, I'm not gonna lie, the hormones was just hormoning. And I said it again louder. I was like, I still have the same issue. I've had the same issue since I was 12. I'm now 22. I've been having a period for a decade. I've been having this issue for a decade. And you want to tell me that there's nothing wrong? She was like, oh, okay, there's no need to be aggressive. You need to calm down. There's no need to get so angry. And I was like, why are you calling me aggressive for? I said, because I'm being assertive. I'm telling you that I have pain. And then you're telling me you don't believe me. I'm wasting taxpayers' money. I'm wasting appointments. I wouldn't come here if I didn't need an appointment. I pay my taxes like everyone else. I pay for this appointment so I'm able to sit here for my 10 minutes and tell you about my issues. And you, as my doctor, need to give me some kind of answer. And if you don't know the answer, refer me to somebody who does. Like, that is common sense. But I guess common sense ain't also common. With intellect doesn't necessarily come common sense. I was like, is there not somebody you can send me to? She was like, no. I said, but you haven't even checked. I was like, you haven't even listened to what I've had to say, first of all. You haven't even asked me any questions to understand further what the actual issue at hand is. She's like, oh, there's, you know, if you're still hostile, I have to call someone to get you escorted out of the room. Escort me. Escort me where? I lost it. I actually lost it. You know, people say, I'm gonna lose it. I've got to tear my shirt. And by this time, I didn't realise, but I was crying. And I wasn't talking about, like, no, when you know you cry when you're angry and the one tear just goes, no, I was snot bubble crying. Like, you know that kind of cry? And she was like, oh, you need to calm down. Like, that's all she kept saying. So by this time, she was like, I'm gonna have to call the police if you don't leave. I sat on the floor. Because I was standing up when the crying was happening. Call the police, call them! Call the po-po-ho! And then I don't know what clocked in her brain, but she was like, well, I can refer you, but I don't feel like that's gonna help. It's only now. Bearing in mind, I've been in the doctor's room about 20 minutes. And it's only then that she told me that she could refer me. Why couldn't you have just referred me there and then? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, it doesn't make any kind of sense. My referral was sent and I just went home and just went to sleep. I was exhausted that day. Like, that cry was 10 years of pent up anger and frustration. And I just, it felt good to cry.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.